Why are there not more people talking about how our brain shapes our behavior? Perhaps you promised to wake up early, yet found yourself hitting the snooze button again and again, or you decided to eat healthy, but late at night you find yourself standing at the fridge, indulging in cake. We make choices every day, some small, some big, and often we later question our own actions. What invisible forces in our mind drive these decisions? Let's start with a story. One famous anecdote tells of a man riding a galloping horse down the road. As the horse races forward and the man holds on tightly, a bystander shouts, "Where are you going in such a hurry?" The man replies, "I don't know. Ask the horse." Our mind is often like that horse, full of momentum, running on habits and impulses that carry us forward. We, the riders, find ourselves moving through life unsure why we're headed in a certain direction. This story perfectly frames our central question: why do we do what we do? To answer it, we must delve into the psychology of the brain, the hidden patterns, evolutionary wiring, emotions and habits that shape our behavior. This journey will merge scientific insight with philosophical depth. Through a storytelling approach that engages both heart and mind, let's begin our exploration into ourselves. The evolutionary brain, our ancient compass. Imagine our distant ancestors living in the wild thousands of years ago. Survival was their daily focus. Finding food, shelter, avoiding predators, these were truly matters of life and death, and over eons their brains adapted to meet those challenges. Fast forward to today, that ancient brain architecture still lives within us, guiding many of our actions even in the modern world. Deep inside our brain lies what some call the reptilian brain, our most primitive part, responsible for basic instincts. It's our automatic survival control center. When you jump in fright at a loud noise or yank your hand from a hot stove without thinking, that ancient part of your brain is at work. It doesn't ask questions or debate, it just acts fast. And that quick action was crucial for early humans. Those who reacted swiftly to threats often survived. Layered above that is the limbic system, the mammalian brain, which is the seat of emotions and memory. If the reptilian brain is about raw survival, the limbic brain adds color and warmth, hunger, fear, love, desire. Ancestors who remembered which berries made them sick and felt fear at the sight of those berries had a better chance to survive. Emotions like fear and disgust protected them, while affection and social bonding helped tribes stick together and thrive. Now consider modern life. We rarely face wild predators or life-or-death hunts, yet our brains still sometimes respond as if we do. Have you ever felt your heart pound before a big presentation or exam? That's an ancient fight-or-flight response, your body gearing up as if a predator were about to pounce. Or, think about craving sugary fatty foods. In prehistoric times, calories were scarce, so we evolved a strong reward response for high-calorie treats. That's why donuts or ice cream can feel nearly irresistible. Your ancient brain is shouting, "Stock up on energy while you can." With this perspective, many things we do that once seemed irrational start to make sense, and we can be a bit kinder to ourselves. We shy away from risks because an inner survival voice urges caution. We seek comfort food because to our old brain it symbolizes safety and energy. It's like shining a light in a dusty attic. We begin to see the old machinery operating within us. Yet this ancient compass isn't the whole story. If it were, we'd be slaves to instinct alone. Clearly we're not just reactive creatures. We also plan, dream, create art, and ponder the stars. So what else guides our actions? For that, let's explore the realm of habits and the unconscious. Habits and the unconscious mind, running on autopilot. Have you ever driven home on autopilot and realized you remember nothing of the journey? That everyday mystery shows the power of the unconscious mind and habit. A huge portion of our daily actions isn't actively decided. It's carried out by the brain's autopilot programs. Our brains are incredible at learning patterns and automating them, another survival trick. Conscious thinking is expensive, using lots of energy and attention. Our ancestors couldn't waste energy on routine tasks when they needed to stay alert for danger. So when an action was repeated often, the brain stepped in to automate it as a habit. Once a behavior becomes habit, we can do it with little conscious thought, freeing our mind for other things. Think about tying your shoelaces or riding a bicycle. At first it took intense focus, eventually you could do it without thinking. Now you might tie your shoes while daydreaming about your day. The same goes for countless tasks, brewing coffee, typing, even your commute route. Our lives run on these routines, they're mental shortcuts, and without them we'd be exhausted by noon. However, these shortcuts have a downside. Because they run automatically, we may do things without thinking, and not all habits are good for us. You might reach for your phone the moment you wake up, like a reflex, or snack in front of the TV out of habit, not real hunger. We even have habitual emotional reactions, always shutting down during an argument or getting anxious in certain situations, because those responses became ingrained. Psychologists describe a habit loop cue routine reward. For example, feeling bored, which is the cue, makes you scroll through social media, the routine, and you get a burst of entertainment or connection as the reward. The brain loves rewards. That dopamine hit reinforces the routine. Next time you're bored, you're drawn to repeat it. Over time, the loop becomes so automatic that the action happens with hardly a thought. But habits aren't destiny. The same adaptability that creates habits can reshape them. By bringing our habits into the light of awareness, we start to regain control. Awareness is key. If you observe yourself reaching for junk food or getting angry, that very observation breaks the spell for a moment. In that pause, you have a chance to do something different instead of letting the old program run you. Before we dive into how awareness enables change, let's look at another major player in why we do what we do, our emotions. They can be like wild storms or gentle breezes, and they profoundly influence our actions, whether we notice it or not. Recall a time you acted in the heat of emotion. Maybe you said something in anger that you later regretted, or made a split-second choice out of excitement or fear. Emotions can surge so intensely that they hijack our thinking. Biologically, our emotional brain processes information faster than our rational brain. It's as if emotion is a racehorse and reason is a pedestrian. Emotion often crosses the finish line first. Earlier we mentioned the limbic system, where emotions live. A key player there is the amygdala, an almond-shaped alarm system. If you face a sudden threat, say a snarling dog, the amygdala screams, "Danger," and triggers an instant response. Your heart races. You might freeze or jump back. This response is incredibly useful for survival. However, the amygdala can fire at emotional threats too. A harsh email from your boss or a hurtful rumor can trigger the same fight-or-flight reaction. That's why your face might flush and your pulse quicken just reading bad news. Emotions don't only protect us, they also guide us toward what we need. Love's warmth encourages us to bond and care for others. Feelings of pride and achievement push us to reach our goals. Even boredom or dissatisfaction can spur us to seek change or create something new. Every emotion has a purpose. It's the brain's way of nudging us to fight, flee, seek comfort, or connect. Yet emotions can lead us astray too. We might chase short-term pleasures that conflict with our long-term goals because, in the moment, the immediate comfort or thrill is so compelling. For instance, someone trying to save money might impulsively splurge on an expensive gadget, or a person in a good relationship might end it in a burst of anger. Later, when the feeling passes, they wonder, why on earth did I do that? How do we ride this storm of emotions without capsizing our life? The first step is recognizing that intense feelings can cloud our judgment. That awareness alone creates a small space between feeling and action. The classic advice count to 10 when angry actually has science behind it. By pausing, you give your rational brain time to catch up and calm the amygdala's alarm. Techniques like deep breathing, taking a walk, or writing down your feelings before reacting are ways of engaging your higher brain to gently steady the ship in rough emotional seas. Emotions are part of being alive. We wouldn't want to shut them off even if we could. A life without feeling would be colorless. The goal isn't to eliminate emotions, but to understand them and manage our response. In other words, we aim to sail our ship using the wind of emotion, but not be blown off course by every gust. The social brain wired for connection. Picture a concert crowd cheering wildly. Even if you're not the biggest fan, you might find yourself cheering along, caught up in the wave of excitement. Or notice how you reach for your phone just because everyone else in the room did, as if it were contagious. We humans are profoundly influenced by those around us. Our brains are wired for connection, and often we do what we do because of other people. From infancy, we are tuned into the social world. Babies instinctively grab a finger and mimic smiles. As children, we imitate parents and peers to learn language and norms. In our brain, special cells called mirror neurons help us empathize and copy others. If you see someone get pricked by a needle, you might wince as if it hurt you. That's mirror neurons giving you a taste of their experience. This wiring for empathy and imitation means we naturally mirror others' emotions and behaviors. Social influence can lift us up, or lead us astray. Being around hardworking colleagues might inspire you to work harder. On the other hand, if all your friends start partying late and skipping responsibilities, you might slide into the same pattern without intending to. We often conform to group behavior because historically, being with the tribe meant safety. Standing out could be risky, so our brains reward us with feelings of belonging when we fit in. Consider how many of our life choices are guided by family or culture. You might pursue a certain career or follow a life path largely because your environment expected it. That's just what people do. We internalize the voices of parents, teachers, and peers. Over time, those can become our own inner voice of guidance. Trends and behaviors also spread quickly for this reason. If others are doing something from fashion fads to social media challenges, we often join in, sometimes without questioning why. Knowing this about ourselves is powerful. It doesn't mean we should rebel against all social influences, we need connection, but it means we can choose our influences consciously. Remember the saying, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, so choose those people wisely. Our brains will mirror whomever we consistently interact with. If you want to change what you do, it may help to change your tribe or environment. Surround yourself with people who have the traits or habits you aspire to, and your behavior will gradually gravitate in that direction. So far, we've explored ancient instincts, habits, emotions, and social influence, all powerful forces driving our actions. It might feel like we're just a product of these forces, a complex puppet on evolutionary strings, but humans have something that lets us rise above being just passengers on this ride: self-awareness. Let's see how consciousness and awareness can transform these raw forces into something truly our own. Self-awareness and conscious choice. The mindful path. By now, you might wonder, with all these influences, is our behavior just a pre-written script? Where are we in all of this? The fact that we can even ask that question points to something special: self-awareness. We aren't just passengers on the horse, we can learn to guide it. There's a part of us that can observe our own thoughts and impulses, almost as if from the outside. This observer, this awareness, is the key to understanding why we do what we do, and to changing it if we choose. One famous insight comes from Viktor Frankl, who said, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space lies our freedom. That gap may be small, but with practice it can expand and give us more control." Practices like meditation and mindfulness train this very skill. When you meditate, you practice watching your thoughts and urges come and go without immediately acting on them, like gently training the wild horse of your mind. Over time, this carries into daily life. You feel anger rising. Instead of instantly exploding, you notice the anger, take a breath, and decide how to respond. You feel a craving for cake. You pause and ask, "Am I truly hungry or just stressed?" That little pause is you stepping into the driver's seat of your mind. Self-awareness also lets us align our actions with our deeper values and goals, rather than just our autopilot impulses. Maybe your habit mind wants comfort and urges you to binge-watch TV tonight, but your conscious mind knows you intended to finish an assignment. If you're aware of both, you can strike a balance. Perhaps study for an hour, then reward yourself with an episode. Without that awareness, the habit might have won without question. We can even use awareness to reprogram some of our defaults. Knowing about habit loops, we can tweak them. If stress at work makes you reach for a cigarette to calm down, you could try a healthier routine when stress hits, like taking a short walk or doing some deep breathing to get a similar relief. It takes effort, old brain wiring doesn't rewrite overnight, but our brains are remarkably adaptable. Each time you make a conscious choice over an old habit, you weaken the old pathway and strengthen a new one. Walking this path of awareness and conscious choice is like becoming both the gardener and the garden of your mind. Initially, our mind grows wild, shaped haphazardly by nature and nurture. But with awareness, we become the gardener, trimming here, planting there, shaping how we grow moving forward. This doesn't mean we control every thought or impulse. We're still human, but we're no longer just spectators to our actions. We're active participants in our own behavior. Here are some practical ways to start taking charge of your actions. Observe your patterns. Begin by watching yourself. Notice your habits, impulses, and reactions without judging them. Awareness of these patterns is the first step toward change. Pause before action. When you feel a strong urge or emotion, practice pausing. Take a breath or count to 10. This small pause can prevent knee-jerk reactions and give your rational mind a moment to step in. Swap in better habits. If you identify a habit you want to change, replace it with a healthier routine that offers a similar reward. For example, if you usually reach for junk food when stressed, take a short walk or drink water instead. Shape your environment. Make it easier to do the right thing. If you want to read more and watch less TV, leave a book on your table and put the TV remote out of sight. If you aim to eat healthier, keep fruits handy and hide the sweets. Choose your company wisely. Surround yourself with people who support the changes you want to make or have the qualities you aspire to. Since we tend to mirror those around us, a positive social circle can reinforce your best intentions. So why do we do what we do? We've seen that our actions emerge from a complex interplay of instincts, habits, emotions, and social influences, but also that with awareness, we are not helpless. Mystics and scientists echo this truth. Knowing ourselves is the first step toward freedom. We began with the story of a man on a runaway horse. We don't have to remain that helpless rider. By becoming aware of our brain's drives and working with them, we can gently take the reins of our life. The next time you find yourself wondering, why did I do that? You'll have an answer, and the ability to choose a different direction. Though we are shaped by evolution and experience, with awareness we can shape what comes next and become the authors of our own story. Understanding why we do what we do helps us become who we truly want to be: conscious, free, and fulfilled.